finesse cranks that I'll tell you about here in a little bit. I think it might be a little bit bigger than I thought. Oh yeah, it is. It's not bad. Hammered it too. Come here. Come here, buddy. Yes. Wow, sorry about the camera shake there, but holy smokes. What a beast. What an absolute beast. Look at that fish. Landed this fish right here on the newly purchased Raid level crank. It's a pretty unique crankbait that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. First fish of the day, good first fish to get as well. Real nice first fish to get. But this crankbait is one of my favorite finesse crankbaits out in the water. And I'll tell you why. Mainly because it controls its own depth. What a beast though. Man, what a beast. Nice bass, about 3 pounds. So like I said, today I'm going to teach you guys how to finesse crank. Now this may seem like a double entendre, almost like drop shot power fishing, but it really is a very unique way to fish. It's a very unique and non-complicated style of fishing. It may seem like it's a little daunting at first, you know, finesse crankbait fishing, what does that mean? But it basically entails that you're using a smaller crankbait on lighter line and lighter tackle to almost pinpoint certain areas in a lake. And this is a technique that works real good in cold water. Real good cold water. You can use a variety of different types of crankbaits. The one I'm using today is probably one of the best finesse crankbaits that I know of on the market, that being the Raid level crank. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit, but mainly I want to focus on the idea of finesse cranking more or less as of now. Like I said, it requires light line, 10 to 12 pound test. Today I'm using 12 pound FC reaction sunline fluorocarbon. And I'm using a 7-foot medium action casting rod with a Shimano Corrado. I'm not using a slow gear ratio though. And when I'm doing this technique, I sometimes like to fish fast. It's one of those things that really all depends on you know what the fish want and the season. But I find that having a 6.4 to 1 gear ratio isn't a bad idea. Really, it's a good idea because that allows you to not only crank somewhat slow, but also allows you to speed up too. When those fish are super aggressive, but don't want to hit necessarily a larger crankbait. I just flipped about 2 dozen laydowns, fished a few other baits around the area where I thought there'd be fish, and there was nothing. So I'm trying to figure the fish out with this little crankbait right here, the level crank, and using the technique of finesse cranking. And it's, you know, very similar to just regular power fishing, crankbait fishing. The only difference is sometimes you have to slow down, and sometimes you have to be patient with the crankbait. You'll work an area, a dense area, multiple times. So like, let's say if I were to get up on a rock pile and there's one good rock out of that rock pile, I'd cast it 3 or 4 times just to kind of eliminate it. And you do that anyways in cold water. You know, cold water, you have to work a specific area that looks different from the rest pretty thoroughly in order to get bit. Thought that was a fish. But it's just like that, you know, it's just the same way as to how you flip to a laydown, but instead of flipping, you're casting a crankbait on one specific designated area. And you're working that crankbait in varied retrieves. This is all about versatility, this whole technique. And there's just a dozen different ways you can work this crankbait, hundreds of different ways you can work this crankbait, crankbaits in general. This level crank is really unique in the sense that you basically get to control the depth of where this crankbait is. An amazing crankbait for fishing deeper water, deeper docks. It's a square bill, it's a shallow running square bill, but you can fish it deeper or shallower depending on how you retrieve it or how long you let it sink. It's got like a rate of fall of 3 to 1 foot, so 3 seconds for every one foot. And it's got this awesome ability to shimmy as soon as I stop the bait. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I caught that fish back there. And I was just so happy that it worked. I'll show you a video in the water, but it like shimmies when you stop it. It's the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. It like shimmies and kind of stops itself. It's an incredible action that I guarantee no other crankbait does. There's one. Oh man, drag's all messed up. That's a good fish. Drag wasn't tight. Thing slammed it. Oh, puppy, don't come off. That's a nice bass. That's just it too. Small crankbaits don't just catch small fish. They catch good bass as well. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Don't come on, come on, puppy. Yes. That's why you fish a crankbait and varied retrieves, is because not all those bass want to see it the same way. Look at that fish. Solid 2-pounder right there, folks, on that raid level crank. That's why you vary retrieves and fish the finesse way. Back in the water she goes. There's one. Stay down. Stay down. Oh, it's a good one. It's a real good one. Come on, man. Don't come off. Don't come off, please. Ah, it's a good one. Yeah, hit it like nothing. Oh, she choked it. Oh, she choked it. Come on, pup. Come off now. Stay pinned. Stay pinned. Oh, look at that. Look at that fish. Beautiful stuff. Where are the hemostats at? Pliers, not hemostats. So you tell me, I think that fish wanted that level crank? That's why the bite was so light. People think when the fish choke on it like that, they're just smacking it. But what they're doing, they're running real tight to the bait, coming up real fast to it, and just opening their mouths. That's all they're doing. Man. And the thing is with a bigger crankbait, you can't get bites like that. You know, not unless the bass is absolutely massive. But the thing is with a smaller bait like this, they can inhale it. It's bite-sized. Numero trace, number 3. Beautiful largemouth. I thought he was bigger than that, but that's a solid 2.5-pound fish. There he is. Nice one. Nice bass. Right where I thought she'd be. Right where I thought she'd be. Oh, man. If you want to know if that drag held out, there's an indent in my line now from where that line is dug into my spool. Right where she was supposed to be. God, just one good hit on that 13 fishing concept day. Just a beautiful, beautiful largemouth. And I'm telling you, they hit it hard in here. They put slack in your line. And you need a good reel that just digs right into them like that. Fish don't have soft jaws. You need a good reel with good drag to stick into them, man. That thing held up to it. I'm really, really satisfied with that. Look at that bass. Get one good look at her. Whew. Beautiful. Springtime is the best time to fish, really. No doubt about it. See you later, pup. Daggone, there's a lot of soft shells over here. There she is. Get in here. Look at that. Dang. I love this reel, man. First cast in that laydown. Popped that fish. Won't help my best 5, but still a decent fish to catch. Good piece of the puzzle. They're definitely moving up now. This fish just laid on for about 30 minutes this morning. Nothing on it. I think this water's really seriously warmed up. Brought these fish closer on the jig.